Premium quality football shirts at an extremely affordable price. Sound good? If so, check out the sponsor of today's video, jerseyfifa.com. You can see that I've sent you some shirts and they really are top quality, so make sure to click the link in the description to go find a shirt for yourself or perhaps as a gift for someone else. And you can now use code jerseyfifa at checkout for 10% off your order. That's code jerseyfifa at checkout for 10% off your order. I really do recommend their product, so go take a look. Now let's get into the analysis. So those of you that have been following the news over the past weeks or months will know that Bayern have been linked with several different transfers this summer, with Fabrizio Romano reporting that 2 of these transfers are now pretty much complete. But one of these is of course Mazraoui from Ajax. We'll talk about him shortly, but just as a bit of an overview, he is a player very much in a mould of a modern day fullback, and I do think that this would be a very impressive signing if they complete it. As would Gravenberch. Yet again, Gravenberch is currently an Ajax player, so this would be a double raid on the Dutch team. But unlike Mazraoui, Gravenberch applies his trade at the heart of the midfield. As I said at the start, these are the 2 signings that look as though it might be a case of when rather than if. So today we're going to take a look at why Nagelsmann might want the Ajax duo and how they'll fit into the tactical system. So when Bayern have been pressed this year, they have often shifted to a back 3, with Pavard at right back tucking in to play alongside the centre backs, allowing Bayern to outnumber any pressing system that they may face. So the question is, could Mazraoui operate in this same sort of role, and the answer doesn't require much thought at all. There is no doubt in my mind that Mazraoui would be more than happy to play in a slightly deeper, more central area at the back. Bayern also often change shape to a 2-2 shape as well, especially when they aren't pressed by the opposition, and in these scenarios we've regularly seen the right back tucking inside alongside Kimmich rather than the centre backs. Again, this is a role that Mazraoui would be capable of playing in. Not only would he be capable, I think he would really thrive, because it is of course the sort of position that we've seen him taking up with Ajax for most of this season. If this was the case, then it would allow Mazraoui to sit in a central area, playing alongside Kimmich at the base of Bayern's possession phase, and this would without doubt create a duo in the centre that are incredible at progressing the ball. That can be seen when we look at the FBref reports of the 2 players. Both Mazraoui and Kimmich really thrive when it comes to playing with the ball at their feet, and they are both very progressive players, constantly looking to move the ball forward. Something else that Mazraoui would provide is tactical flexibility, because he is capable of playing several different roles at fullback, and we all know that Nagelsmann is a manager that likes to tinker with his system, so Mazraoui could be perfect. Whilst Mazraoui does enjoy tucking in to build possession, he is also very capable of playing much wider, and even overlapping his winger to provide crosses into the box, so again this flexibility would give Nagelsmann a choice. More often than not, I do think that we'll probably see Mazraoui playing in more central areas if and when this transfer is completed, simply because in my opinion this is where Mazraoui is at his best, as he can get plenty of touches. As I was saying earlier, playing in this area will allow Mazraoui to progress the ball with his passing, and again this is something that is key to the way that Nagelsmann sets up and the way in which he asks his team to play, always on the front foot. Of course, being a fullback, Mazraoui would also be able to provide Bayern with a bit more defensive security, particularly when defending the counter-attack, and that could be another benefit of having Mazraoui sitting in front of the 2 centre-backs. Whilst he may help the team from a defensive point of view, I think ultimately you are buying Mazraoui for what he has to offer on the ball, because when in possession, he really does ooze pure class and quality, which fits Bayern perfectly. I certainly think that in this regard Mazraoui would be an upgrade on Pavard. Pavard is a good footballer in his own right, but I just think that in possession Mazraoui brings a different level of quality on the ball thanks to his passing. That, combined with the rest of his brilliant attributes, is why I think this would be an unbelievably good transfer for Bayern, especially when you consider there won't be a transfer fee. To me it looks like an absolute no-brainer for Bayern this summer. So now it's time to move on to the second half of the pair, and as I was saying, that is of course Gravenberch. So again we're going to take a look at a few of his qualities, whilst also discussing how he would work from a tactical point of view. So actually the first big challenge for Gravenberch will actually be getting a chance in the first team, because Goretzka currently plays in the midfield for Bayern and he is a high quality player, but Gravenberch can still thrive. Especially if you consider the fact that Mazraoui could be playing behind him, providing some defensive security, which will of course have the knock-on effect of allowing one of the midfielders to push further forward, and it won't be Kimmich. Therefore, if Gravenberch is able to get himself into the first team, then he will be given the freedom to push forward towards the final third, and let me just say, you won't need to ask him twice, he loves making these forward runs. Being given this freedom would allow Gravenberch to do what he is best at, and that is carrying the ball forward. And when Gravenberch is able to pick the ball up in deeper areas, he is absolutely brilliant at dribbling his way through the midfield. Again, we can see this when we look at his FBref report. When compared with every other midfielder in Europe's top 5 leagues in the past year, Gravenberch ranks in the 94th percentile for both dribbles completed and progressive carries. Again, this is something that would suit Nagelsmann's style perfectly. I was saying earlier that he likes his team to move the ball forward, so Gravenberch is another player that could come into a team and do an excellent job of progressing the ball. He really does offer a lot of drive to the midfield, and even if the opposition tried to crowd him out in the centre, Gravenberch is nearly always able to find a way to drive or dribble his way through the heart of the opposition's midfield. This sort of thing could work quite nicely at Bayern, especially if Nagelsmann continues to use Thomas Müller in the area just behind the striker, and personally I'm interested to see how it could work with Gravenberch pushing forward to link up with him. If we tried to picture it, I could imagine Gravenberch pushing forward through the centre, whilst Müller drifts to the right hand side ever so slightly. And to be fair, this is something that Müller looks to do already, so I certainly think it could work. Obviously, what this will do is allow Gravenberch to get the ball in and around the opposition's penalty area, and once in these areas, with the ball at his feet, Gravenberch is excellent at knitting the play together with his brilliant link play. Now, this may not be something that everyone knows, because Gravenberch has only got himself 6 assists in all competitions this season, but you'll just have to take my word that he is very good at linking the play in and around the opposition's penalty box. For me, these reasonably low numbers are not an area of concern personally, because if you watch Gravenberch play live, then you will quickly see that he has a lot to offer with his neat passing in the final third of the pitch. For this reason, I do think that Gravenberch could become part of the attacking setup at Bayern in a similar way to what he has at Ajax over the past year in particular, and for me this would be the way to really get the best from him as a footballer. If this was the case, then it would create an interesting possession shape for Bayern, with the team essentially rotating into a 2-2-5-1 formation, with plenty of players looking to get forward to create something in the penalty area. This shape would work whether it was Gravenberch or Goretzka playing in the midfield, because again Goretzka is a player that likes to get forward from the midfield, so it wouldn't be much of an issue at all if Nagelsmann would chose to switch between the two of them. But I certainly wouldn't be surprised to see Gravenberch starting the season with a few games on the bench before he is able to break into the first team, so if this move does happen, then it would be important that he remains patient early on. Because if he does remain patient, then I'm extremely confident that he has what it takes to become one of the best players of this current generation. He has pretty much all the tools that a midfielder needs to succeed at the highest level in the modern era. So again, it's for this reason that I think this would be an extremely impressive piece of business for Bayern. Gravenberch would come with a bit of a fee, but it still isn't too much with all things considered, so again I would certainly recommend this transfer. As we've seen, I'm quite confident that both of these players could slot into Nagelsmann's setup almost flawlessly, although I'll take a more in-depth look at Bayern's tactics later on in the summer when we know what the squad will look like a bit more. Either way, these two would be brilliant pieces of business. Mazraoui could quite comfortably come into the team and almost instantly improve this Bayern team, simply because of what he has to offer to any team that he would play in. For Gravenberch, I do think things are a little bit more complicated because there is more competition for places in midfield, but for me it's another move that Bayern should look to make, because he really does have so much to offer to this Bayern side. And Nagelsmann can actually be the perfect man to help Gravenberch to go to the next level, because we all know how good he is at getting the best out of players, and from a coaching point of view, he really is a top-notch coach and manager. That's why I think Bayern are in a really good place right now. They've got a good blend of youth and experience in the team at the moment, and these two signings would certainly add to that as well, so things certainly are looking quite bright for the club. Although, for all those positives, it does look like Lewandowski will be leaving the club, so perhaps that's something else that we could look at in a video one day this summer. Let me know what you think, get in the comments down below, and thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one.